You can see after months of speculation and protests, Rovers will move from the Eastville ground to Twerton Park. Well, they've been at Eastville for 89 years, so it's been a day tinged with sadness for the third division club. Ian Seymour reports.
For almost 90 years, Bristol Rovers, nicknamed the Pirates, hung their skull and crossbone flag above this famous Eastville ground. It was a period of ups and downs. The downs occurred 40 years ago, when, with a small debt in modern terms of £15,000, the club were forced to sell their ground to the Eastville Stadium company. Thereafter, there were successes. Who will ever forget the famous Bristol Rovers victory in the Watney Cup? The Eastville ground will be remembered by all Football League teams as the ground that had a rose garden. And then in 1980, the fateful fire. The south stand burst into flames, and basically it burnt the heart out of the club. Eastville never recovered, and at 11 o'clock today, the days of wine and roses were over. That was when the two chairmen of Bristol Rovers and Bath City signed a simple document, which will mean that this coming season, and maybe for the next 4, possibly 7 years, Bristol Rovers will be playing at Twerton Park. They're the first league team in this country to actually play football on a non-league ground.
Bristol Rovers and Bath City very much intend to survive and to progress and to be successful, and we regard this move as a major step along that line. Thank you.
It's a historic day for Bristol Rovers. You're quite literally on the move.
Yes, we are Bristol Rovers, a club on the move. That's our motto, and that's what we're doing, and we think it's going to be beneficial for Bristol Rovers and for Bath City as well.
It is a lifeline for the club.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, Paul Richards, chairman of Bath City, there's been a lot of discussions over the last few months. Is it going to be beneficial for your club?
Well, as Dennis said, I'm very pleased to say that not just for Bath City, for Bristol Rovers as well. And we're both very, very pleased about the situation.
So there we are. After all the speculation today, it's confirmed.
Division Bristol Rovers leave their famous Eastville ground and move to Bath City's Twerton Park next season. The ground-sharing deal, the first ever in league football, will get both clubs out of debt. But the Bristol Pirates will need some loyal support from their fans if the club's to survive and one day return again to Bristol.
The unique agreement was signed this morning by the chairman of both clubs.
I feel this historical move to Bath gives this club a marvellous springboard to reawaken interest in the footballing public in two major cities.
For Rovers, it's a lifesaver, a new home at over half the Eastville rent, the chance to share in bar and other takings with a landlord receiving them with open arms. They had to leave Eastville. They couldn't afford the £50,000 rent due next season. The stadium company, who've already leased land to a giant Tesco's, want to redevelop their prime city centre site. For Bath City, deep in the red over past seasons, the deal brings £20,000 a year, bigger gates and more prestige. Rovers have already financed a new drainage system, and they begin talks with Avon this week to bring the ground up to the required safety standards. They also intend to put in 1,000 extra seats, increasing the ground's capacity to nearly 10,000. But there's been angry reaction from people living near Twerton Park who fear they'll be swamped by cars and hooligans. Bath say they would be ready to ban away supporters if there was trouble.
We definitely don't want trouble, and we are out to protect the people in the village and in Bath.
Wouldn't you be cutting your own throat by stopping the extra gate coming?
If it comes to that, then I'm afraid that's how it would have to be, because we are out to stop any trouble coming to Bath City Football Club.
Rovers say they're talking to the police about more parking, and they hope to run a park and ride system. They'll also bring their own crowd control cameras. But will the fans want to travel to Bath? Rovers will need a gate of up to 3,000 to break even, and they intend to lay on buses from all over Bristol, even from your own street corner, they promise. And fans will be able to buy a combined match and bus ticket from anywhere in Avon. The club's also promoting its image with new kit sponsors and shirt advertising. Behind it, a clothing firm from Iceland and a coach firm which ironically transports arch-rivals Bristol City as well. Today, Bristol City were rubbing their hands at the prospect of a one-team Bristol.
It's bound to create a vacuum by the club leaving Bristol, and once again, with a successful side here, we would do well. And having gone to Bath, I doubt whether Bristol will see Bristol Rovers back again.
Bath say any lost Bristol fans will be balanced by new ones from areas around Bath. But the deal is for 7 years with a breakpoint at 4, and Rovers are determined to return to Bristol and a brand new stadium of their own one day. For now, they're a club on the move. But as ever, it's the fans who'll decide whether it's in the right direction or not.
Bristol Rovers then at Eastville, their home ground, to kick off against Aston Villa.
Rovers, seen here in action in 1961, bought Eastville in 1897. They were in the Southern League then. But by 1940, Rovers had become bogged down in debt and made the fateful decision to sell their home for £12,000. But there followed some golden years. Attendance was at its highest in the 50s, with regular crowds of 30,000, presumably undeterred by the persistent smell from the gasworks next door, which became a characteristic of the ground. In 1956, a year before the Munich air disaster, Rovers had taken on Manchester United and won 4-0. Long-standing supporters will recall names like Harry Banford, Alfie Biggs and Ray Warren. 6 years ago, disaster struck with a devastating fire which destroyed the stand and caused £1 million worth of damage. Lately, there have been long but fruitless efforts to build a new home at Stoke Gifford. Now Rovers are going to Bath and opening a new chapter in their history. But for some fans, future games will seem a away fixture.